So I'm going to recap, but while I recap, I need for each of you to please roll a d20 for me. Ladies and gentlemen, last we left off, our intrepid group of adventurers hailing from the grand city of Orlustran on a interesting journey, to say the least, in search of a fallen meteor that some of them had witnessed falling from the nighttime heavens. They found their way through the Siltwood up into the Stormsong Mountains in search of whatever they might find. A perilous journey, to say the least, but because they were together, because they persevered, they did eventually reach the destination where this ostensible meteor had crashed, only to discover that it wasn't a meteor at all. It was a ship. Something that would have been expected to be perhaps on a river from their perspective, and yet here it was on the peaks of the Stormsong Mountains. Damaged and chaotic. There were bodies buried in mounds of rock that had been done by a mechanical individual that they had met that was connected to the ship, a short-statured figure by the name of Tig, whom they have befriended. Limited ability to communicate with Tig right now, but what they have been able to communicate with, they have informed the rest of them of the origins, or at least some portion of the origins of this ship. How it journeyed from some far-off lands that none of them have ever heard of, an entire continent away, perhaps. Certainly not something any of them had expected. All of this was trivial, though, in comparison to learning a little bit about the former sailors, if that is what they are actually called, aboard this ship that ostensibly flies through the skies. They learned that each of them came from different places and was on this journey of discovery into lands that no one else knew of. Begs the question, perhaps, is their land one of those places that no one else knows of? That's a question for later. For now, they were faced with some difficult circumstances, learning not just about the ship, but also about each other and about some of the secrets that each of them has. Then, in a chaotic series of events, they found the engine, the power center of this airship, rife with chaos, swirling with unbridled power and uncontrolled magic. And together, they pushed forward into this vortex, into this maelstrom of chaos, to attempt to quiet it, to attempt to bring some semblance of order through the use of their own, what their society might deem cursed magics, some ingenious applications of learned spells, raw power, and in some cases just hope. They seem to have gotten everything a bit more under control. So, my friends, as we come back into this scene, we're going to pick up right where we left off. I need to know what your D20 results were, please.
Do you, though?
I do.
I'll go first.
Okay, I'm guessing you rolled well. If he's going first, he rolled well.
I got a 19.
All right.
I got a 13.
There's the natural one. 2 natural?
I also got one.
Amazing. Love it. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you sink every ounce of magical power within you as you apply every potential rune or knowledge of arcana to the task, as you focus your minds and hearts on helping whatever this arcane entity within this ship is. You exhaust yourselves. You find the power, the swirling chaos around you diminishing, becoming more controlled, sinking into some of the controlling surfaces and places and crystalline entities and the machinery within this engineering space, within this arcanic engine in front of you. And as it becomes more controlled, as this vortex diminishes, each one of you in your own moments finds yourselves slumped upon the floor, leaning against a piece of artifice, holding tightly to some cable or panel or whatnot. There you sit. 80. Your walls have completely crumbled. But the emotions that you are feeling are no longer as potent as they were just moments before. They are much diminished. There's still a great sadness there, but it isn't that horrifying torment of sadness that you had felt previous. There's a relief there. The only thing that you can really equate it to is having attended a funeral once before. The dearest love to those that had passed had felt that same kind of tormenting sadness during, but then later, after, when they had had a chance to gather themselves, they were still sad, but they at least could process it. And you feel that there is a processing of those emotions going on now. You still don't understand any of it because you've never felt emotions from a place before. But here we are. Vi finds themselves almost delirious in the first few moments of aftermath from this. Clenching their eyes tightly, Vi is attempting to center themselves, to find a way, a place, find some place within their mind that they can retreat to, that they can run from what they just experienced. And for the briefest of moments externally, but for seemingly an eternal amount of time inside, Vi finds themselves floating on the wind, looking down at tumultuous seas, clouds slowly moving past them, and feeling the breeze upon their face. Ren is currently experiencing the only what he can describe as an immense sense of loss. It has not been that long since his father passed, but he feels that power that he had experienced when his father passed, that unbridled, raw energy within him that rose to the surface and sought to consume his very soul when he experienced that loss. He feels that all over again, but instead of the feeling of loss, he pushes that aside and feels accomplishment. He's exhausted, but he has that accomplishment for some unknown reason in his mind. He just feels that what he did was right. And as he looks around to the girls, he knows that when he sought to close that door to protect them, he was wrong to do so. They are so much stronger than perhaps he realized. And then Mira, still clutching on to one of the control surfaces, still concentrating on that protective ward that she cast upon the arcanic engine itself. Mira cannot help but feel pride and conviction for accomplishing something that had so long eluded her. And it was easy in many ways. It was instinctual, and it just worked. As you all hold yourselves in this space, I need for each of you to please make a Constitution saving throw.
Oh boy.
I saw a natural 20 in there from somebody. Is that Vi getting the natural 20?
It me.
Awesome. What did everyone else get?
13.
Cool.
Also 13.
Awesome.
11?
Okay. Hey, thank you, Meister Hypester, for the raid. Jack coming in strong. Appreciate it. We love you guys. Welcome in, Raiders. We're just getting started here tonight, as some of our companions are about to find themselves perhaps a little bit more physically exhausted than even they realize. So, Vi kind of shakes herself out of the almost reverie-like state that she was in. She comes back to the present. She looks around. She has 2 levels of exhaustion from this very draining and harrowing experience. The rest of you have 4 levels of exhaustion. Vi is certainly more alert than the others and can kind of see the toll that this experience has taken on her companions before they really are able to realize it. But there you all sit.
Did we do something?
We, yeah, we did something. Oh, jeez.
What exactly did we do?
I don't know that we fixed it, but we helped.
Mira would definitely know, although maybe she doesn't really know why she knows this, but she would have a firm understanding that the engine has been stabilized. There's obviously still damage and still things that need to be done, and perhaps some additional investigation at a later time when you don't have 4 levels of exhaustion might give more information, but Mira is confident that you all were able to stabilize the maelstrom of power, the unbridled, raw chaos of elemental energies and primordial power that was enveloping the room has been controlled.
What do we do now?
Is everybody okay?
Absolutely not.
Exhausted.
I'm
Okay.
gonna see if Tig can make some more of that coffee. Oh God, my knees hurt again. Like it's both of them this time.
You turn and look out the door as you try to leverage yourself back up to your feet, and you see Tig standing there, looking at all of you, arms kind of slack at their sides, just watching you.
I think initially, like, Bryn tries to stand up and it doesn't, so he kind of just rolls on his side to where, like, if the door is here, you just see, like, his head and his shoulders from out the side. He's like, attempts to make the mental connection.
Tig, can you make some more coffee, please?
Just laying there.
Tig just nods, and you hear back in your mind, of course. And they turn and start walking into the well, actually, no, they have to go up a deck. So they start walking towards the ladder and begin climbing their way up to the upper deck or middle deck.
80 will just sort of smack Mira on the shoulder.
Ow, why? What?
Look at you. That was something.
Well, you were practically catatonic. I had to do something.
That is true.
I told you I would fix it, and I did.
You did.
It was pretty cool, though.
So cool. So cool. Oh my god. Vi, how are you doing right now?
You turned into a different person for a second.
I don't know how I did that. I just did what everybody else was doing.
I didn't know what I was doing. I just sort of touched it.
Yeah, same. I don't. You know, the thought of climbing up that ladder is not fun. I might
Can I just lay here
sleep
for
here.
at least 4 days?
I think I saw some hammocks down here. We could just crash down here.
Please. Can we also...
Bren, at the very least, I think both Bren and Vi, maybe even 80, knows that there's beds in the middle deck.
Fair. That's
yeah,
fair.
but ladder.
Ladder. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly.
But bed.
Just flat back on the floor. Oh, bed. Bed would be great.
Haven't you ever been swaddled by a hammock, though? It's glorious. It's better than the floor.
I guess. I feel like there's more that we should talk about. Can we do it later?
Yes.
Okay, which one of you lovely ladies are gonna help me up off the floor?
Oh god, I'll try.
That would be
Mira,
nice.
Mira can do the
It's-
disc thing, right? Can she just
Oh yeah, wedge it.
card us
put
all
your-
up?
He leans a little bit over and he's like,
I
yeah,
would love to. I'm fresh out of all of my magic. I can maybe give you some guidance if I can reach you.
All right, that's
I mean,
fine.
the disc is a ritual spell.
Oh, that's true. Mira
Are you
does
gonna
not remember
ritually
that at all.
cast the disc?
just to float me up there. This is great. This is when Tig gets done with the coffee, just
Tig's really strong. He can carry us up.
funnel it right on my face.
Look, let's rest.
Whether it be willing yourselves up the ladder, getting some aid from Tig, or the eventual summoning of a arcane disc to levitate you up through the space, you do find yourselves in the main crew deck once again. Is there anything in particular that any of you would like to do?
I'm gonna grab one or two of the journals on my way to the bed so that I don't have to get up and I can just like read until I fall asleep and it smacks me on the face.
Is there anything, after we've kind of calmed the storms in the engine room, is there anything of note, like instructions, a key, money, another journal, just something now that we can kind of clearly see after all the chaos?
Yes. But right now, I think that you're kind of so exhausted that you're not really going to be able to pick up on some details until perhaps the morning. Like, you can tell me if, I'm wrong about this, but the way I am interpreting this particular scenario, Bren may not be as focused as he normally is.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And so
Before
I think
levels of exhaustion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
80 will find wherever Vi is choosing to sleep, and we'll just sort of come up. Can we cuddle?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Thanks.
She'll like scooch over.
awesome.
Mira's busy doing Mira things, so.
Just
She's
Mira
weird
things.
like that.
Yeah, all right. So I think we'll move things along here, at least through the night. You all are able to get a long rest, which will take away 1 point of your exhaustion, making things better, significantly better for some, at the very least. Tig kind of goes into almost a nurse mode, and seems to just kind of fetch things for anyone that needs something, whether it be, food, which there is some meager supplies. Tig can't cook, but he can fetch, some staples. Yes, Nursebot 3000. That's a mode now for Tig, apparently. But they can also retrieve things for you that you might need. And I will say throughout the rest of the evening, because it was still both suns were still up when you had the experience in the engine room, right? So you take, we'll call it an extended long rest. And for Mira, I will also say that being added or being shown to the additional crew quarters, with all of the books that she's already got, I will say that she does have all of the journals from all 8 of the crew members now. So you spend the evening, whether it be reading or just simply recuperating, and morning comes. As morning comes, feeling a little bit better, or at least more able to move around and such, I will say that you're able to kind of spend a little bit of time, additional time, and take in the ship a little bit more. And it's a little bit, I don't want to say that the glamour has worn off of the ship, but certainly after having slept there for an evening and, situations being as they are, it's certainly different than when you first arrived at the ship the day before. There's still a great deal of wonder there, but now you're kind of seeing things with a little bit of a different eye. You're able to notice quite a number of additional details that might have escaped you a bit before. Not the least of which is the sheer volume of manuals and tomes scattered throughout the ship. Whether it be within the engine room, the navigation room at the front of the ship, any of the crew spaces, some additional exploration into the captain's room, you find almost all of the crew had different books to help them in their day-to-day activities. Several of these are old books that seem to reference sailing on water instead of in the air, but it seems like principles are effective for at least some aspect of that. The engineer, who Mira came to know by the name of Yordi, had quite a number of tomes that were being constantly updated with new knowledge and understanding of the arcane artifice of the ship. The navigator, Taven, seemed to be really stalwartly interested in documenting about ley lines, a concept that Mira only faintly understands herself. And they seemed to be in the process of creating maps of not only their travels, but also maps of these magical ribbons of energy that the ship ostensibly uses to help it travel the skies. They seemed to have a method for detecting these ley lines. Taven referenced the compass several times. The first mate, Demeter, as well as the other two ship's mates, Kaylee and Philbin, had several different manuals on operating and maintaining the ship, including one particular book that seemed to be mixed in with a number of Demeter's possessions that was written by Captain Harlow herself, which seems to have been a essentials guide to sailing ships. And it makes particular reference to a place known as the Sea of Intrescal, with little notes written in the margins that almost seem like wistful memories of the calm and soothing waters of that sea. Of course, that would surprise all of you, considering your own understandings of oceans and the sea. Captain Harlow, however, seemed to have the largest collection of books, including fiction stories, mostly fairy tales, but many, many different books on not just the potential operations of the ship. There was a number of books that seemed to hypothesize everything about air travel, but also Captain Harlow was documenting quite extensively their own experiences. They seemed to be potentially working on another book themselves that details the differences between airship travel and travel at sea. As you set about to finding all of this, is there anything in particular that you all would like to focus on or discuss amongst yourselves with some of this new learning?
So, so they were able to sail the ocean successfully.
I don't think it was the ocean, but maybe above it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, according to what, because I assume Mira's translating this. Yeah, according to what Mira's saying that she's reading, like it was the actual ocean sailing that gave them the expertise to try and sail the skies.
Maybe there's a big enough maybe there's another ocean or a big enough sea somewhere else that they could have learned. I just don't see how anyone could sail this ocean.
Maybe that's why they took to the skies. Because the ocean was that dangerous. They needed another way.
Yeah.
So it's the same, relatively. And we have all of this information in how to do it.
Yeah.
But to man something this big, we need a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, they had a full crew.
Presumably who all knew what they were doing.
Presumably.
Yes and no, I guess. Like, they knew how to sail a ship on water, but it seems like this was a new experience for them. Like, clearly they had training, but they also talk about it being a new experience and something they'd never done before.
I mean, I know how to sail on the canals and rivers, but I don't
water.
know I don't know how that translates here.
Obviously, I have to do more digging and closer reading, but there's a lot here that I think can help us. Sylvie had checklists of, morning and evening, really extensive checklists of, like, this is all of the stuff that we need to pay attention to. I'm sure the captain has more information. I would really like to figure out more of what the engineer had, because I think the engine is the most concerning part.
Okay. So, big plan. What are we thinking?
Are you talking long range plan, medium range plan, like what we're doing next? What are you like?
Well, if we figure out the long range and the medium, that'll help with what we need to do next. So let's start long range, right? What do we have? We have a broke down air boat ship thing. We have an engine that is on its way to being fixed, and we have a lot of instructions in how to sail this. That's what we got so far.
I don't think that's long enough.
Well, that's just more of like what we have and what we know right now, and then
I kind of still need to know, like, if we're able to get this thing working, what are we doing?
that's what I'm asking. Yes, that's what I'm asking. Like, what are we? So let's say everything goes perfect, right? Ship's working. We figure out some way to get it up and in the air. Then what?
I mean, that's where it stops for me. I really don't know.
Right.
Because it sounds amazing. This is all so unbelievable, but like,
If we get it in
just
the
go?
air, I can't see it going well with the Imperium. If we're gonna fly it, we're flying it out of here.
I
I
agree
think-
with that.
Yeah, maybe we bring Tig home, or Tig's people back to where they came from. I'm sure they have family that want to know what happened to them.
It's a noble idea.
I
Don't strike me for being negative. Sorry. Strike me for being negative. I think if we do that and we show up to where they're from, they're gonna think we killed them and stole the ship.
there have got to be ways to get a message ahead of us, right? They talk about sendings in the journals. I have a couple, and she flips through until a couple of pieces of paper fall out of Kaylee's journal. They sent these ahead of time. There's got to be a way for us to get word. They talk about sending word to the other ships. Maybe that's where we start, is trying to figure out where one of the other ships went.
Again, a very good idea. However, who's to say those ships don't yet again think that we killed the crew and stole this ship?
We have
what I'm saying.
Tig to vouch for us.
Bonus. Okay,
Why would we kill a bunch of people, take their ship, and then fly it right back to where it came from?
That kind of thinking doesn't apply. That kind of thinking doesn't apply when you know you've lost something. And this ship is something that wherever they are from, they have lost. This cannot be easy. It's probably very valuable to them.
I don't know, Jawline, do you have any ideas on what we want to do with the magical flying boat?
No, but I mean, and again, all of this is good. It's coming, it'll help us, but we have to look at both sides. Right? I definitely don't want to take it back to the Imperium because they are just going to disregard us, probably dispose of us, and harness this new toy that they now have. Here's another thing too. How do we not know that they don't already know about this and just haven't gotten to it yet? Because of what the Siltwood is rumored to have. Not really rumored anymore. We did their dirty work for them. We just so happened to glaze over the city as we fly by.
Yeah.
Right. So we go the opposite direction. And we figure out what the other way is.
We go south?
Nice. Could be. Also, this is a very large undertaking for you all. Right? When let's say we get it going, and we leave, and we go the other direction. There's no coming back to visit. This is it. And I can already see it on your faces. Get it up and running, or we get it decent. You make the trip back into the city. You go to your homes, you tell your families. It's a lovely thought. Put your family on this flying boat and you guys see the rest of the world. Is that what you want to do?
What would your parents think?
I don't think we can tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be an easy hike either?
Do you think we could tell Burke? Or someone? Anybody?
I think... I can't... I have to cross that bridge when I come to it. We don't even know what's gonna be waiting for us when we get back to our Lustrin, which I think we need to go back. Clearly we don't have everything we would need to fix this here. We're gonna have to go back sooner than later. I would like to talk to Professor Evander and see if he's got any vague information about maps, I would like to scour the illuminated heart and see if there's anything in the restricted sections about ships or primordial magic. I think there is information to be found that will help us.
If you do that, you might as well paint yourself in red and scream while you're doing it. That is a big, big sign that something is up. You've been gone for several days, more than several days, and then you come back and you start looking at maps and ships.
I said
boats.
covertly. I'm not gonna be asking the entire faculty for help. I have spent years in that building. I know where to look.
Believe you.
We also can't fly this just the four of us. We're gonna need at least 2 more people, 3 more people.
2 to 3 more people to convince to make their way through the Siltwood, all for the idea that we can fly them anywhere they want. Here is another idea, and probably the safest. We can collect what we want here, and we can go home, and we can leave this as is.
What happened to
No,
all
we
your
can't.
excitement from yesterday?
I'm excited. I'm very excited. I don't know if it was the bump on the head when we were all space jamming it down there, but there are things to consider. If the 3 of you tell me right now, yes, let's figure it out, let's fix it, let's fly it, I will be the first one to steer this thing off this mountain. But that's me. When you go home, you have parents. You have your goal of getting your boat back up. And that's another out for you. When I go back home, I have animals. That's it. And although they are very important, that's it. So whether we go or we stay, it pays me no mind. It's you all. You have things to leave. You have people to leave. I'm still excited, but it's not just me here.
80 will just look to Mira. Can we do this? Like, for real?
What do we have to go back to?
I mean, we had a life.
A life where you had to hide every single day.
Yeah. This is scary. Like, what do we do? We have people who love us and who, like, expect us to be somewhere, and I don't want to go back. I really don't. So what do we do?
I think you take some time to think on it. This thing's not going to turn around in a day. And it's not moving anywhere. I think you take the time.
I mean, we go back, we see what the reaction is to us being gone for 10 days. That could give us a clue to what the reaction is going to be like if we're gone for longer.
I guess, yeah.
You probably don't have a job anymore anyway, so you're free.
Never really had a job. I just like, I don't know. It's so weird because like, you know, I've wanted this forever, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, like having the option now, it feels just like a lot. And I think I'm just tired. But I want to try. You're just gonna have to help me.
The minute you don't want to do this anymore, we go home.
Ugh. Well, no, because now your magic is weird too. And like, that's too cool to hide.
I don't have to hide it, right?
I mean, do you? It's not what it was supposed to be? I don't know. You know what? Home is fucked. Well, I'm feeling better. Let's just do it.
Maybe we can convince Rowan to come fly with us.
Before we do that, if we are going to go back, we tell no one. We assess the big problem. Missing children for days on end. Me and Vi are cool. That's the first thing to assess. Once that's assessed, we'll revisit the point of telling one additional person. We're not going to post a town meeting. And so, like, you may not even get the chance to mention it to somebody because of what you're dealing with when you come back.
We've made some less than ideal choices over the last 10 days. We're not stupid.
No, you're reckless. That's worse.
So far, it's turned out.
The three of you get on my nerves. All right. I'm just saying, we're going to go back to be cautious with the information. That's it.
I'm a vault. I've kept her secret for 10 years, so we're good.
Sure. You just all right. You're right.
I'm obviously totally stable and capable of being very chill about all of this, so no worries on my end.
Why am I more nervous about this than us originally coming out here?
Because it just keeps getting dumber and dumber.
Before we came out here,
staring
it was
folks.
just the three of us idiots and you. Now we have two Ascendant on our side for who knows what reason.
So now we're buddies with the Ascendant. There was a point to where that was not the case.
I'm still willing to say scud off when it becomes necessary.
You got to pick
For
a side of
now.
the fence.
For now, we have their blessing. I don't know.
Their blessing isn't what we need. And he looks around. He's like, we need their carpenter. Like an ascended carpenter would be nice.
You hear a clatter from the kitchen as Tig is like cleaning something up.
He's like, Brent actually goes, oh. All right, fine. So what I'm hearing is we're going to go back, assess the town situation. Once that has been managed, We will reconvene and we will discuss the option of telling someone else. That's what I'm hearing. Everybody nod at the same time. Okay, there it is. Okay, beautiful. I think that's a wonderful plan. The three of you are geniuses, as I already know. Well, he stands up. All right. Glad we have a plan.
As we kind of like finish that conversation, Vi will just kind of go upstairs, up to the upper deck to get some fresh air and kind of process everything that's happening and what we're deciding.
Okay. Is there anything of particular note that any of you would like to do?
I think Bren would take a bit while everyone's kind of gathering themselves and sitting with Mira and kind of like, okay, so what else what else is in there? Like trying to gather knowledge, like hopefully trying to pick up on things so he won't clearly be able to read it, but he's like, oh, I know that word, like type situation.
Is there anything that Mira would tell Bren of in particular about like the journal entries, as that's what she spent the most time with?
Yeah, I think she would point out like a bunch of the different place names that they mention and just like make sure like you haven't heard of Sotrek, you haven't heard of Cartesia, Escos, Iswana, like you none of these ring a bell?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
We need to figure out where they are storing their maps if we haven't found them all already. Like we need to search the ship for the rest of their maps. It seems like they had to shift directions. There are storms, so like that's a thing to be thinking out for. Seems like the engine needing magic is not a new situation. They had someone cast shatter at the engine, which seems like a terrible idea, but it did something.
As what?
Shatter, like it's a very high level spell. They could have shot them out of the sky. It seems like that's not what did it, but I don't know.
Okay.
And then there's just all sorts of nonsense in here. It seems like there was a lot of sexual tension on the ship, like between, I don't know, Kaylee and Yordi, and seems like this elf Philbin had a thing for Taven. I don't know. It was a whole thing.
Is that going to help us move this thing?
I don't know. It's just in here a lot. So they also like, it seems like most of their job was exploration, but there also was some business, maybe. Philbin has this whole business plan about this interactive storytelling thing using dice and audience interaction. He called it Cities and Citizens. I don't know. He's like he planned to teach it to bards around the world. And
why would bards need dice to tell a story?
I don't know.
What would the dice tell? Like, anyway,
he's got different steps to his business plan. Travel to new lands and introduce a new type of interactive storytelling. Offer this framework for free and teach bard colleges around the world. Step 3, come back to each land and find the most popular stories and take them. They are mine, after all. They've used my framework to create the stories. Create books and merchandise based on these popular stories. Step 4, profit. It shall be called Honorable Acquisition of Bard Story Rights Organization, or Hasbro for short. So, like, there was this whole business
Sounds very
plan?
immoral.
I don't know. He had this whole thing.
Okay.
Seems weird.
We'll figure it out. Like and you've already done so much work. So question, since we've been in the sharing mood as of late, do you really think you need to go back to school at this point?
I think I'd like to steal some books.
I mean, yeah, but like, I mean, we go back into town, right? There's a big hoopla. Oh my God, you guys were gone. That dies down. And then they want you to kind of follow suit, which you probably should for a very small period of time while you're stealing books. What's the point after that, right? I mean,
I'm not.
things.
If we're gonna get this up in the air, I'm not gonna make us stay around and wait for me to graduate, if that's what you're asking.
It's really not, but my thing is this, you've worked very hard thus far to get to a certain point with your schooling. And of course you took this wonderful vacation, but in this short amount of time, the amount that you've learned and experienced, does it equal out to what you put into the school?
Feels like apples and oranges.
Does it?
Kind of. What I got out of school was theory, and that is helpful. And I think in a lot of ways that's going to help us figure out how to fly this thing. But at this point, most of my learning is going to be through experience. And I don't know that I can do that in Orlestrin.
You're right. It's apples and oranges. Both different flavors, but at the end of the day, it's still fruit. So whether you learn that in your classroom or out here slumming it with us, you're still going to learn. I think this sounds more fun, though.
I don't disagree.
Cool. Well, you enjoy your reading. I'm going to go do something. I'm going to go look for maps. Maps. That's what you said. I'm going to look for maps.
Hey, by the way, It doesn't sound like we're the only idiots in the world. There's this letter from a place called Escos. They had some sort of festival, parade, singing. The person writing the letter said that there was a riot. Some idiots stole a wagon, nearly ran down some orphans, and started a stampede during the festivities. And then they write, some guy named Jerry was half cooked in his own armor by their magic. So, you know, we could do a lot of damage and still not endanger a bunch of orphans.
Yeah, or somebody was cooked in a suit of armor.
Yeah.
Sucks for Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
They never caught them, though, so, I mean...
can't be that big of an idiots if they never got caught.
I guess. We just need to never get caught. That's fine.
Someone's magic cooked a person in a suit of armor, and like he kind of walks away, and it's one of those things where he's like, really, like over a fire, and he just keeps walking. It's like that old Looney Tunes cartoon where it's like Hansel murmuring.
So, I'm assuming that you guys are going to be spending a bit more time recuperating and investigating more things about the ship, such as the aforementioned going in search of all of the maps and the like. So you can feel free to chime in at any point if there's something in particular of note that you would like to do or explore. As part of these explorations throughout the ship, you're able to spot quite a number of objects that 80 in particular, and even Vi to an extent with her general experience in acquiring artifacts, we'll call it, things that likely were magical at some point. We kind of touched on it a little bit last session, how there was some things that had just seemed to have lost their luster, that were gray and seemingly drained of all power and life and such. And you come across things such as a compass, golden mithril, now dull and brittle, that has 3 different pointers within it and a series of runic symbols carved on each of the pointers, as well as the face of the compass itself. Through some discussions with Mira over journals and manuals and such, you're able to determine that this was probably the tool that they used not only for tracking cardinal directions, but also seemingly to track ley lines as well. Beyond that, you also discover spyglasses that seem to have fading magical inscriptions upon them. Very likely, well, in addition to finding them, you also, through the manuals, are able to determine that these were magical spyglasses capable of seeing extremely far. Now they don't see quite as far. It's still functional, but more in a mundane sort of way. There's fragments of a satchel that seems to have been what was used for sending messages great distances. Mira in particular takes note of this sending satchel and how that would be a brilliant way of infusing the magic required to send messages in written form and receiving them in written form and the like. There were cleansing stones, apparently, that were used to clean things without the need for water or quite as much manual labor. There were objects to help with creation of water, wands and the like, that could fill entire barrels full of fresh, palatable drinking water if necessary. The manuals, of course, also go into the mundane methods for, when to have appropriate barrels out on what particular rainstorms and the like to be able to catch water from the skies. But all of these things kind of lend themselves towards the notion that wherever these people came from, magic was ridiculously prevalent. Magic is very prevalent within the Imperium as well, but not to this level of artifice. It's more to people using magic, particularly wizards and clerics, offering up their accepted forms of magic in society as a service. And it seems like many of the services that you all have become accustomed to in Imperium society, provided you have enough coin, were more trivial in whatever society these people seem to have hailed from. In addition to all of that, of course, you do find quite a number of the maps and the like that I had mentioned before. In addition to that, though, Ian, Bren, in searching the captain's quarters and locating a couple of very interesting and unique maps of this entire other continent, complete with dozens of different countries and political borders and city names and mountains and waters and the like, he also finds the Sea of Entrescal on one of those maps. In addition to that, he finds a large chest, about 24 inches wide, 12 inches long, and just a bit less than 12 deep. Very well constructed, flat-topped, reinforced with steel edging, with an extremely substantial lock built into it. A little bit of investigating and attempts, at various keys found within the captain's desk, you are able to find the key that opens that chest. And within, you find a hoard of gold. Thousands of gold pieces within this chest. Quite a number of platinum as well. All of them minted with faces and symbols that Bryn has never seen before in his life. More than that, I think he's surprised at the sheer volume of coin that is within it.
Opens it, looks at it, realizes what it is, closes it very slowly. And he walks out of the quarters and he looks for Vi.
Is easily found, not far off.
Hey, I need your help with something.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, it's over here. Just come over here and help me with something real quick. Okay?
Sure.
Cool. Walks over. Yeah, it's this huge chest. Now, before I show you, you have to promise not to scream.
It's a really weird request.
I bet. Promise.
She spits in her hand, holds it out.
Spits back. Gives the good old shake. Perfect. Opens up the chest and just looks at Vi in the face.
You just see the reflection of gold in her face, eyes wide, trying their best not to scream.
We may get your boat up and running a lot faster than you think.
Yeah. I don't know if I want that anymore, Jawline.
Okay, I mean that's fine. Okay, closes the chest, sits on it just to kind of like relax. What do we want to do now?
I don't know. Why fix up my old riverboat when we can fix this flying boat?
It's true.
You know? I don't know. I've been sitting up on the upper deck and just feeling that wind on my face, and I don't know, the air up here, it really reminds me of when I used to run with Fig, and we would have, you know, our little secret meetings or check-ins and stuff on top of the cathedral, and up here it feels more like home than that boat does now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're planning on leaving, if, I don't know, AD and Mira want to leave, there's nothing for me back in the city.
Well, it's our willingness or wanting to leave shouldn't be the direction for you.
Yeah, it's more about letting go, you know, finding my mom in me or the people around me and not holding on to whatever's left behind. No, I still love to cook and it reminds me of my mom, but I don't want to cling on to that. I don't want to, I don't know. This feels like a new way of living that I want to try. And maybe this is the balance that Vimrodel has been trying to, I don't know, show me. Trying to let go of my past a little bit and maybe think about what I want.
Then And why don't you seem happy about it?
I'm nervous to get happy and excited for things. Because sometimes things disappear or leave. So I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic.
It's a small step. That's good.
And, you know, like I said earlier, everybody I love is already on the ship. There's really nothing for me in the city, and if we can find a place where I can go shopping without getting yelled at, that'd be awesome. You know, if I go somewhere where 80 can use her magic however she wants, maybe we can go somewhere where I can actually learn about whatever's happening to me. I think that'd be great.
I think it's beautiful. And good on you for thinking like that.
I mean, it's been a pretty intense 10 days. I don't know. Kind of makes you rethink things sometimes.
You're right. You're right. Well,
but
we have
what about-
this now.
What about you, John? Like, are you down to leave your farm, your animals, everything that you've built?
Maintain. I didn't build that. My dad did.
Hmm.
And I think that's probably what I have to let go of.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah.
what do you want then? What's your? We were talking about goals or whatever. What is it that you want?
You know, Violet, I don't really know right now. I know what I don't want. I don't want to feel suffocated anymore. I don't want to feel forgotten, in a sense. I don't know. Something new. It'll be fun. Maybe that's what it is. I think the three of you, maybe, yeah.
Some
I think that's
adventure.
what it is. Some adventure. Something fun. Then all of this so far is, don't tell the other two, been kind of fun. The whole journey so far.
You know, I'm great at keeping secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Super great.
The best. Well, at least we know wherever we do go, we won't be hungry. Because although I have no idea what's printed on it, it's faces, insignias, gold still shines the same no matter what part of the world you're in. So, there's that.
If only we knew what we needed to buy to fix the ship, other than a lot of wood.
I mean, there's a start. So, we'll leave it to Mira. She'll go plundering for books and knowledge, and I'm pretty sure as smart as she is, we'll know exactly what we need in no time. Or at least an equivalent of 10 days. So, cool. I would like to say this, though. Keep this between you and I. I'm gonna lock it. We'll talk about it when it's right. I don't think rushing up and saying, "Oh, we found gold," is really beneficial right now.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I am, though, gonna take a couple of these, and you should too as well.
Yeah, so take a few handfuls.
Yeah, just in case, right?
You never know.
Never know. Turns, locks it back. All right. Found some cool maps. I don't know what they are. Not that I don't know what they are, but like, I don't know where they are. But it's extremely detailed. I mean, from what I can make out, there's land division, I think maybe like authority, like insignias and signs of like their area. Something else to talk with Mira about, but this, and then he pulls out the map of the Sea of Tresco, and he's like, I think this is what they were referring to when they said they were sailing the waters. Look at this. This is crazy.
Could Violet do some kind of role where she references the map and her visions that she's had?
Ooh. There is geographical features enough on the map that I'll give you that role, but it's going to be a pretty high DC. We'll call it an investigation check using wisdom instead of intelligence.
It's 8 plus 4, it's 12.
Nothing is really coming through. There's familiarity, but not enough for you to know any particular details. But as you all bring the maps and such back to Mira, she is of course able to read them. It's also worth pointing out, Ian, that Bren does find in the navigator's room specifically a couple of maps that are extremely intriguing to him because they are maps of the stars, something that he's always had a fascination with, and he recognizes the stars. He doesn't recognize the words, the labels and such on the maps, but it seems like the fundamental concepts of using the stars to help navigate is beyond language.
I would assume like the idea of constellations and stuff is also a part of that, like him knowing that.
Yeah.
I think he gives over all the maps, but he keeps that one, and you can guys see like his eyes kind of darting around, just like super interesting.
I saw it.
So over the course of, we'll call it the next handful of days, Mira is able to decode a lot of text for all of you. And through group discussions and the like, you're able to come up with notions that the ship needs, at a minimum, 4 people to actually physically get it moving. There needs to be an engineer, someone of astute arcana, being able to handle what Mira comes to know as the arcanic engine. There needs to be 2 ship's mates that serve as kind of the versatile individuals across the ship that listen to the commands of others to help keep things moving, even if something as simple as handling the rigging. That falls into the realm of ship's mates. And because there's so much to do, you always need essentially 2 people working in tandem to be able to fulfill a lot of those types of tasks. And then you need a helmsman, someone that can steer and manage the course of the ship, that also has some semblance of direction as a navigator would. That's the minimum that you need. The books are very thorough in detailing that everyone on the ship cross-trained to do multiple duties aboard. All of the previous crew members had multitudes of responsibilities on board the ship, including navigator, cook and quartermaster, and the like. So you have a sense that the ship can operate with 4 people, but those 4 people are going to quickly tire out if there are not additional people stepping in to fulfill, duties on shifts and such. But that's just the people aspect of it. the ship has quite a number of damaged portions of it at present. One of the tail wings is significantly damaged and will require not just being kind of bent back into place, but probably forging of metal in order to fix some of the tears and abrasions upon it. There likely needs to be some mechanical realignment to ensure that the wings on both sides of the ship are all in proper alignment to handle the flows of air currents in the air. The sail needs a great deal of mending. It is torn vastly in many places, and the sail is not just simple, made of, basic thread. There's several different types of filaments that very fine metallic threads as well. It seems to also be reinforced with magic, as most things on the ship are. So it's definitely going to require some substantial mending. The hull has a massive crack and breach upon one particular side of it, the side that Mira had moved through when she entered the ship the first time. In examining it thoroughly, there's nowhere near enough of the materials that the ship's previous crew probably used to fix small things here and there aboard the ship. There's nowhere near enough to be able to fix the damage that's been done to the hull at this point. And it isn't just that hole upon the side. There's damage to the top deck. There's damage to the railings, the mast reinforcing. There's entire segments of that upper deck that look as though an immense heavy claw just pierced through the top of it. As Mira had noted last time, many of these things are starting to sort of mend themselves, but it seems like it's a phenomenally slow process, and there's no way Mira is confident in how long that might take. You're looking at a great deal of carpentry, forging, even glass making to mend some of the fractured glass sections of the hull, on top of any magical mending or supporting or enforcing that needs to take place, reinforcing. And then there's the engine. Mira is confident that it is stable now, but even she can see that the various wards and artifice controls are very damaged and will need to be replenished, repaired, maybe even replaced. She doesn't know how to do that at present, but she knows that there are scrolls and potentially other things that could be acquired to help with that. She may not want to admit it to herself, but this is definitely something she would want to get the assistance of someone more learned in Arcana than herself to help to understand. But it can be done. And at the very least, it's stable for now. Then you start considering the supplies that you're going to need. Provisions, food supplies, water, additional cloth and such for the sail should it become damaged again. Metalworking. Do any of you know how to swing a forge hammer? Is that something that you need? Repair tools, personal gear, protective attire to help withstand the elements. These are all the crazy number of things that you know that you're going to have to acquire if you do in fact want to take this ship to the skies once again. All of which will require resources that at least a couple of you aren't sure you have. And on top of all of that, as you are feeling more rested and starting to really understand all of this in front of you, you come back to the discussion of what to do with the previous crew. Mira points out there's a missing body amongst those burial mounds. The number of journal entries you have, the roster that the captain had kept, someone's missing. Bren is able to talk with Tig about that, and you come to learn that Tig bore witness to the horrific sight of Bronvin, the cook, as the tear in the hull formed when the ship struck the first mountain before it crashed. Bronvin was ejected from the ship at violent speeds, striking a mountainside. And Tig has no hope of being able to recover their body. Where does all of that leave you in these few days that you spend coming to all of these conclusions?
It's a lot of work.
We need supplies and we need help.
Oh,
We also can't just march into town and be like, hey, we need a whole bunch of lumber. So
But how would we get it up here?
I want to say we'll figure it out as we go, but I don't know that that applies to the sheer scale of what we're doing.
I mean, we could tackle it in one phase at a time, right? Start with the physical, then with the mechanical, then the magical. It's gonna take a while though. And honestly, transporting supplies would have to be done under the guise of night.
Through forests and mountains and manticores and bog witches and...
We could start with a comprehensive list of things. Just
I
to
already
start with
made
each phase.
one. It's right here.
Perfect.
Of course you did. Can't you just get Orlumis on the horn and ask for
Yeah.
help?
Go.
If
the
it worked
Ascendant.
that way, things would be a lot easier.
I mean, things are different now. You never know.
Yeah.
We would.
I mean, could we get the raw materials from what's around us? Fell some trees. I don't know.
How long would it take to forest a tree then? To forest the supplies. It would take. Jeez, at least if we went to town and commissioned, we can do.
I don't think we can do that though.
Took us 10 days.
I'm just nervous about showing up to a shop and being like, hey, we need a whole bunch of lumber and some fancy string and all. People are going to get suspicious really quickly. Don't you have connections to people who get things?
What do you mean? A farmer walks into a town and says, I need a large sum of wood because my fence needs reinforcing.
Wood
And
is
the
just one part of what we need, though.
What I'm saying is there's explanations for everything.
If you say so.
It's an idea, but that's just one.
I think, yeah. I think we're going to have to tackle what's waiting for us when we get back first before we can even think about supplies.
Oh, that sounds familiar. I wonder how you came up with that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean,
Also, we have to figure out how to pay for this stuff. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Violet, please.
no, I was just... What if we took all the wood and materials from my barge and repurposed it?
That honestly
Like,
sounds
it's-
really cool.
It's pretty big. It could fit, like, I don't know, it was a restaurant. It had a bunch of tables, and it could fit like 20 some people. If we're just gonna leave it, we might as well reuse it.
Are you okay with that?
I mean, either that or it sinks into the canals there when I'm not there, and we can take Bandit with us too. It's not as big as this, but it could maybe patch the hull.
Oh,
That sounds really nice.
nice.
It would probably occur to at least one of you that none of you have any knowledge of how to patch the hull of a ship, but it seems like there would be enough materials at least if you could find somebody to assist you. And of course, hauling it all up here.
We just need to hold it against the holes and the ship will fix it itself. It's fine.
There's a blast of magic into it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously going to take some time for things to mull over. We'll have some time to kind of gather things, learn something new to help. But at least we know this. At the bare minimum, the four of us could run this mother. Sorry. we could fly this thing at the bare minimum. It's a step in the positive direction.
This is crazy, and I'm into it.
You guys, are we going to start a band? Is that what we're doing right now?
I mean, if that's on the table, fuck yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, but then you'd have to come up with a band name, and we all know how that goes.
Guys.
So,
It's called the Ysterra, right? Right? That's what it is. I said it.
you did. So, are we headed back to Orlostran?
Looks like it.
Okay. You spend the several days.
Before
sorry,
we
go ahead.
go back down the mountain, I just want to take 1 second. I'll meet everyone outside. I'm gonna run down to the engine room and just put my hands on the engine again and just kind of whisper, "We'll be back. Don't be afraid." And I will cast Protection from Evil and Good again. I know it doesn't last very long, but I just want to
Okay.
give it a bit of a buff before we leave.
In addition to that, before we go down the mountain, what are we going to do with Tig?
This entire time, like the 4 days that you guys basically spend recuperating, Tig has just been moving around the ship, like organizing things, cleaning, essentially.
I feel kind of bad leaving them up here by themselves.
I mean, you can always ask them what they want.
We could take him as far as your farm, and then when we need to go into town, right? If he wants to come with us.
Yeah, okay. We'll do that. We'll ask him. And I go over and I go, connect the mental link. And I go, Tig, we're going to go back to our village to kind of create a plan. Would you like to come with us?
And I?
Would you like to?
I don't know.
It's like Brent's actual face looking at him. He's just like,
Could be fun. We would love to have you.
Do you need me?
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Do you need to pack anything to bring with you from the ship?
No? Do I?
All right, Tig, come on. Just let's go.
So, in the interest of time, I'm going to go through some narration of a number of things on your return. Just to clarify, did you wait the full number of days that would be required for you to get fully recuperated from your exhaustion? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So then on the morning of the 21st is when you end up setting out. The Storm Song Mountains are rugged terrain, to say the very least. You've made the journey up already once. The journey down is also fraught with just as much dangers as the ascent. You find yourselves slipping in various places, but working together, you are able to navigate your way down the mountain. Unfortunately, the farther and farther down the mountain that you go, Tig's acuity becomes more and more rough. You remember when you had found Tig, they had difficulties communicating even through the magic that Bren utilized, and they were slow in their responses, and their movements were less precise. You come to the conclusion about halfway down that the further Tig gets from the ship, the more difficult it is for them to function. And you, I'm assuming, come to the difficult conclusion to send Tig back to the ship. Such parting is, of course, fraught with all kinds of emotions, and no matter how you process what that might mean for you, it's also hard to understand what it might mean for Tig. Mira is even more confused now than she was previously, because she had never contemplated Tig even existing. And yet, now it's even worse by the notion that whoever had created them passed on, and they're still functioning, but now somehow it's attached, their function is attached to the ship in some way. Maybe that was part of the original design, maybe it wasn't. You're not entirely certain. Definitely one of those things that perhaps the journals would help you understand. But that difficulty set aside, you do continue your way down the mountain, eventually reaching the foothills where the paths are more navigable and the rocky cliffs are not quite as dangerous. Your constant companion during the entirety of that journey is the sounds of the crashing waves of the rivers below, or I'm sorry, of the ocean below. As that sound reverberates through the mountains, at times being so loud that you can barely hear yourselves think, you start to feel a sense of dread as you continue your way down. Each for probably your own differing reasons, but dread nonetheless. A couple of times you spot some of the predatory creatures that hearken this place, hiding from them sufficiently well enough now that you're much more alert to their existence, considering the journey that you took to get here before. Past the foothills, you reach the Siltwood Forest, transitioning from the stark mountain landscape to the lush, enveloping canopy of this marshland forest. The air is rich with earthy smells, teeming with life. Parts of your minds flash to your previous journey and the dangers, but also you are reminded very quickly of the wonders of this place. Almost feeling like a storybook journey. Soft ground and green light, the ethereal atmosphere underscored by this feeling of ancient magic within this place. A few days since you left the airship, you once again find the Enclave, where you had borne witness to the gem dragon being hatched. Those memories are mixed with the difficult emotions of the bog hag that had attempted to corrupt that experience. But you don't linger long. Despite the trepidations of returning home, you continue your voyage at pace, knowing that the more days you are away from Orlustran, the more difficult the return is going to be. As the hours and days pass, you do eventually reach Bren's farm. What previous had taken you many days to go the other direction to reach the peaks, this time you were able to do in 4. Pushing yourselves fairly hard, knowing what was ahead of you. You have arrived at Bren's farm on the 25th of Rani. Late in the afternoon, the twin suns still offering more than enough light for you to see. Bren, you very quickly notice a couple of things that stand out. Above and beyond the comfort of seeing the farmstead once again, perhaps with the mixed emotions of seeing it and realizing that at some point you may never see it again, you notice that many of your animals seem to have been tended to. In maybe just not more than a couple of days, you can see signs of feed having been left out. None of the animals seem to have disappeared, as one might expect from having been away for as many days as you were. But of particular note, you notice as you go through the fence onto the farmstead, there's a spot on the fence that had been broken once before that you had been meaning to fix for many, many days. A spot just large enough that animals could escape through should they really, really wish it. And you see that it has been repaired. Freshly tended wood placed upon it. Wood from your farmstead, of course, you recognize fairly easily from your own supplies. But someone tended to it and took care of it. The rest of you are able to spot Bren's kind of distance, taking in the circumstance, and very much unable to hide, particularly from 80, their shock and surprise at these things that they see. But there you stand on Bren's farm.
He looks at the patch in the fence, and you can see him kind of like eyeing it. And he's like in a squat looking at it, and then a smile comes on his face, and he puts his head low, and he's like, "Okay, all right, I owe you one." Kind of mumbles it to himself. And he stands up and he goes, "Well, this is nice. I was really worried for a second there."
How does it feel?
It's to be back home or to know that everything's okay?
Either, both.
It feels good, but it feels good in a sense of the realization that there's something more. And I owe a buddy of mine dinner at the very least.
Who?
It's an old friend of mine. It's really nothing. But you're all more than welcome to stay here for the night if you prefer. Before going back into town, Violet, you had mentioned still something you want for a bit?
Yeah, I feel like plans changed, you know?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. My home's open to all of you, either way.
Well, are you gonna stay here, or are you gonna come into the city with us?
Right now? No. Well, do you need me?
I mean, you are the guy with the badge. You could really help us get a lot of what we need.
For what it is worth, the point of time that you arrive, if you did decide to go ahead and turn towards Orlestron, it would be 3 o'clock in the morning by the time you actually made it back. And you've been traveling hard, coming through the mountain and the Silverwood. It's been very difficult to go through all of that as fast as you did. So, at the very least, unless you have true motivations for going into Orlestron, you should probably spend the night at the farm.
Mira's gonna look at 80. Is it worse if we show up at 3 in the morning, or is it worse if we show up in broad daylight?
Listen, I just want to hug some animals and go to sleep. I don't know if I can think beyond that. I mean, I think showing up at the middle of the night could be advantageous, but maybe not tonight.
I will scoop up a little almirage and just hand it to you.
I already have one. I just got a few.
There's a ring of them that are kind of dancing around 80's feet and like following her like Disney princess style.
See, this is why it's going to be difficult for me to leave. Why would I ever leave this?
Could bring them. We got the room.
Rabbits are easy to breed and farm and eat.
Eat?
It's a farm, 80.
I know, but like I'm cuddling this one literally right now. Just feels a little, crass.
Then we'll save that one for last.
You're gonna make me eat Piper?
Actually, that's Paige. Piper is over there.
Either way.
Yeah.
You guys did have some of this stew, right?
Don't even, Violet.
No, we won't eat we won't eat the ladies. The triplets will be safe. Those are my emotional support almirage. But everyone else, and he looks around, anyone can get it.
I think the girl gang is just gonna make a big giant cuddle puddle on the floor with people and almirage.
Correct.
All right. Well, morning comes. You all set off for Orlestron. Does Bren...
I am so stressed right now. Deb is so stressed at the thought of going back. I just have to get that out.
Yes,
Okay.
Brent is gonna go. Just for the simple fact that I know that there's stress. I want my character to be there to just watch.
Okay. Does that stress equate into procrastination?
Nope, it doesn't. She knows
Okay.
it's gonna get worse.
Okay. Fair enough. So the afternoon then of the 26th, bearing in mind that you departed from Orlustran on the 8th, having been gone for 18 days. You see the city in the distance. You saw it as soon as you exited the Siltwood. You saw it from the mountains, even, because it's such a huge city. You see it from Bren's farm as you make your way towards it. This illuminated light of a metropolis in the distance. Every hour goes by, you get closer and closer, till you hear the familiar sounds, till you smell the familiar smells. The city of Orlustran is upon you. The canals filled with gondolas, the people walking the streets, going about their daily lives. It looks exactly as you left it. Whatever fears you might have had maybe subside a little bit, but here you see the hustle and bustle of the city itself. Where do you go first?
Home? Just to regroup, figure out what our plan is now?
Does everyone go with?
I feel like Violet goes back to her barge to regroup, making sure it's still there too.
Brent sees everybody going in separate directions. He's like, I could have stayed home for this. I thought.
You could come on.
All right. I'm heading to the barge. The Elder Barge.
Okay. So then Bren and Vi head off towards the barge. Mira and 80 head off towards their apartment home. It's easier to get to the barge. It being on the westernmost portion of the city in the shallows. Vi, you see the barge exactly as you left it. Nothing has changed. The shallows haven't changed since Vi has been alive. Bren's been a few times, and I think it sets in upon him now why Vi would be so interested in leaving it all behind. This is not a place that you want to live. This is not a place that anyone actively chooses to stay in if they can help it. This is the kind of place that you end up in and you have a difficult time finding your way out of. As you all board the barge, you can feel its weight has shifted a little bit. Vi can anyway, knowing fundamentally where every settling spot within the barge is. And it appears that there are a few additional residents that have taken root on the barge. Their little rat tails and little rat whiskers all alight as you enter. And there seems to be someone leading the little entourage of newfound friends. And they seem very irritated about the lack of food.
Bandit, were you pregnant?
They're fully grown rats. Bandit made friends. Come on.
Oh, it's just, whoa.
Bandit actually like runs away from Vi if Vi attempts to do that. Bandit is very upset at this point.
I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah, so that was Bandit. This is where I live.
Omi.
Fixer-upper, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You know.
Ian, Bren's looking around at this homey space, and he spots something that's a little bit out of order. Upon one of the tables, there appears to be a pristinely folded up piece of parchment. And written on the top of it, plainly visible, is the word Violet.
Is this here when you left?
I don't think so.
Quote one of Ian's one of his favorite personal movies. You got mail.
I'll reach out and take it.
You snatch it up. For some reason you smell cinnamon rolls as you snatch up the piece of parchment and you open it. And permit me a little artistic license here, Andrew. I think Vi visibly starts shaking as she sees a letter from Mrs. Withersby, dated 10 days ago. The written parchment letter equivalent of all caps, writing, Violet, where the hell are you? What kind of trouble are you in? If you do not come and see me the moment that you find this letter, I am going to be very upset at you. Signed, Mrs. Withersby. All color drains from Violet's face as Bren sees Vi reading the letter.
You all right, kid? Bad news? What is it? What happened?
I'm so scudding dead.
You realize that you had made a promise not 2 days after the meteor shower to have been at Mrs. Withersby's.
Yeah. I had somebody I was supposed to meet and kind of forgot.
It's
That's
we
fine.
go see them now? Is it fine? You don't look like it's fine.
It's fine. It's totally fine. You know Hearth and Home, right? Bakery?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, this is the owner.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. She helps me out sometimes, and I don't know. I guess she did offer to let me use her kitchen, and I guess she's worried that I didn't show up.
Well, all right. He walks over to the door that we entered and opens it and goes, "Let's go."
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Off you're headed to Mrs. Withersby's. Okay. In the meantime, we'll cut back over to the twins. As you make your way across the city towards home, a couple of gondola rides are required. Can't really go directly. It's too long of a trip for one gondolier to do on their own, but you're able to kind of hop and jump and eventually find your way there. 80 spots before Mira as you're walking down the familiar street this, what we had described previously in the artifacts quarter as a artistic avenue with people, some in the more elderly years, this familiar place, feeling almost comfortable being here once again. 80 spots Mr. Babineau seated out front in the garden. And then she spots Phelan seated in a chair next to him.
Don't freak out just yet.
I'm already freaked out. Why? What?
80 pulls Mira aside so that she can't see.
We knew that we were screwed, right? This was something that we expected. Imagine your worst case scenario. That's what's happening, but it's okay because once the worst thing happens, then it can only get better, right? So, you know what? Also, I could just go and say that you're not around.
Say that I'm dead. Say I died. I'm dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What the fuck? You know what? Fuck it,
cause a
right?
distraction, and I will just run upstairs. It'll be. Oh God. Fuck it. Yep. Okay.
Just walk to the house.
You guys start making your way down the street. You were only a few houses away at that point, but Babineau and Phelan were deep in conversation with one another, as they don't seem to notice you as you approach. 80 very clearly is able to pick up on the emotions of camaraderie and happiness from the both of them.
What the fuck?
Even at this great distance. Go ahead and give me a insight check, please.
Okay. Sorry, character sheet. You said insight?
I did.
Okay. 23?
Yeah, that's a really, really good roll. These are the kind of emotions that you get when you see someone that you haven't seen in a really long time, and you're very happy to see them.
Interesting.
The two of you make your way to basically the front of the house where the fence is, and you stand there, and there's a few moments pause before Phelan looks over and sees the both of you and just stops speaking and, has this kind of surprised expression upon their face. Babineau, we love Mr. Babineau, but it takes him a minute. He doesn't quite pick up on it until several awkward moments pass. He was the one in mid-conversation, and he just kind of finishes. And then he turns and he looks at the two of you and he starts to, wobble his way up to standing, and he says, "Girls!" And he just steps forward towards the fence, open arms. Crowbar falls from his lap unceremoniously, who had been sleeping, just topples down into the garden with a protesting meow, and he starts moving towards you with his arms open. You can see kind of tears forming in his eyes a little bit. And he's like, "Girls, girls, girls." And he's waving the two of you in.
Hi, Mr. Babineau.
The three of you embrace. Phelan just slowly stands to his feet, watching, not moving forward, but watching at that distance.
Hey.
You direct that to Phelan?
Sure I do. Yep.
Phelan looks at you and just kind of raises a hand and says, "It's nice to see you." And then his eyes shift towards Mira, and he watches her for a second, and then he kind of lowers his head down a little bit. Babineau, in the meantime, is basically like old man squeezing the two of you, where it's stronger than it should be by all physical rights. But as he releases you, he kind of steps back and hobbles back a little bit, and he says, "You have to tell me everything that has been going on."
It's fine. We just got a little lost for
A little.
a couple weeks.
Honey, it's been so long since I've seen the two of you. You left a note saying it was just going to be days. It's been well more than that.
We did do that.
We're so sorry. I mean, it just
You don't got to apologize to me, but there was people that come around looking for you. And he kind of looks at Mira.
Like who?
People from the school.
Fuck. Did you happen
One of them was apparently a professor. He was very upset at the notion that you had left without saying anything more. Now, I told him that you had a family emergency.
Oh, that's so sweet of you.
But I got the feeling that he might have known more than he was telling me. Now, look, I was young once too. And he just kind of looks over at Phelan, and there's this like shared smile of knowing between them. And then he looks back at you, and I get it. People do interesting things when they're young. But people that love you worry. Now, it looks to me that you're safe, and that's all that matters. I'm not gonna reprimand. I'm not gonna be that person. I'm just glad that you're home.
Thank you, Mr. Babineau. And sorry,
We didn't mean to worry you.
It's all right.
I'll just lean up and kiss him on the cheek.
He just smiles and pats your hand. Now come on in. I want to introduce you to one of my dearest friends. And he kind of opens the gate for the two of you to come in.
We've been gone so long,
Hey, you can humor me, can't you?
Yes, sir.
This here is my good friend Phelan. I don't think I've gotten a chance to tell you about all the shenaniganery that I got up to when I was your age. And well, they were there for a good chunk of it. Now we've got some stories to tell, don't we? And he like looks at Phelan. Phelan kind of just has this almost embarrassed expression on their face and just kind of nods. Yeah, we've got some stories. And he like gestures towards the chairs, or they gesture towards the chairs, and they kind of move over and just lean up against one of the trees. And that's where we're going to call it tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
No!
Oh my God.
5 more minutes.
No.
What the hell?
It hurts.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed all of that amazing role playing as much as I did. And I'm very much looking forward to revealing a little bit more next week. I hope you all can join us.